Hi, I'm Arif Fahrudin. Welcome to Asian Agribiz Podcast, bringing you interviews and update from the animal protein community throughout Asia from a trusted provider of news and market intelligence. In this series, Payungsat Wiryabunditku is speaking with Onat Bayraktar about packaging trends in Asia, including the benefits of eco-friendly packaging. Mr. Bayraktar is Vice President Asia at Sealed Air Corporation. He is responsible for managing the business and providing strategic direction for the region.
Hi, Mr. Onat. Thank you for giving an interview in this podcast.
Thank you, Gun Paingsak. Happy to be discussing with you. Happy to be here.
Okay, today I will ask you about eco-friendly packaging or sustainable packaging. But first of all, let me ask you about packaging trends. As we are seeing, food producers have responded to the higher demand for packaging. So, what is trending in Asia, Mr. Onat?
Asia is the largest market globally for packaging at this point in time, and will continue to account for over 40% of the world's packaging consumption already. And particularly in perishable food packaging, we see a significant growth in recent years. When we look at the drivers of this, the mega trends such as population growth, urbanization, and rising middle class are still there. They have been there in the recent years. But with COVID-19, the significant growth of online food purchasing accelerated the need for packaging, and that producers need to think well how to make their packaging omnichannel friendly. So there is this new trend of omnichannel in our life as well. Of course, changing consumer lifestyles have imposed new demands on packaged foods, such as reducing the time for preparation, packaging, ready to eat, ready to heat, ready to cook meals, preserving fresh foods, and smaller packs of portioned food. These have been the trends before COVID-19 as well, as I mentioned. Our research shows when shopping for fresh and processed cooked proteins, fresh packaged meat, seafood, and all deli meats, food safety is top of mind. That's another overarching, I would say, trend. And consumers have more confidence in prepackaged proteins and solutions like vacuum skin packaging in this environment because of this food safety concerns. There's also a greater push towards healthy living, food safety, and hygiene, and this is also accelerated by the pandemic. More consumers are working remotely, as you know, they're cooking at home, and therefore shopping for online groceries and buying fresh food that actually increased significantly in our lives in recent 1 year, actually. And with all these key needs, the food producers are to address the needs that make their packaging omnichannel friendly, as I mentioned. In other words, they need to be able to cope up with the challenge, the additional steps that online shopping brings to food supply chain. We also see greater demand for advanced solutions, such as cook-in, freezer-ready packaging to meet these needs, and all these also bringing a completely different trend, where the need of automation, because companies are considering packaging automation to address these challenges in finding and retaining labor, and in recent maybe 1 year also protecting and ensuring the safety of their workforce. And automating packaging systems in that sense increase labor productivity anywhere from 20 to 100% more. So that also becomes an important trend for food producers to handle. Again, also concept of touchless with the pandemic comes into the picture that becomes part of the food safety equation. Of course, with these increase in packaging needs, the sustainability question also surfaces in mind. People do see the impact of plastic waste in the news and questions if the product they purchase is in the right packaging. That also becomes more and more prominent. And food producers are also trying to find the right answer to these demands from the consumer. So that is what I see, particularly in Asia, as the main trends in our life in this recent years.
Yes, you mentioned sustainability. So, and you already mentioned about food producer that trying to answer to the eco-friendly packaging. So do you see more food producers are shifting to eco-friendly packaging, right? And what factors are driving this trend, Mr. Onat?
Well, true. There is a certain demand, I would say, to more eco-friendly solutions, but there is also a lot of confusion in this area, and different what actually is eco-friendly packaging, and this is actually is the biggest, I would say, the question mark for entire food supply chain today. And if you go and ask me what actually is the eco-friendly packaging, we also, of course, as Seal there, we have a clear view on this. And if I would just summarize, what eco-friendly materials means for us is definitely the materials that protect food and decrease spoilage and food waste. That is the first and most important element of an eco-friendly material, because when we talk about sustainability, apparently the human health, the food safety is predominantly the first thing that we need to look into. The second one is, again, what eco-friendly packaging materials mean is the ones that reduces food waste, and that can only be made by the right actually material choices. We can discuss a bit more about that later, but we need to underline one thing: food waste today is one of the biggest contributors to climate change, and reducing food waste is actually is an important sustainability factor. Therefore, the packaging that we choose, especially for food, needs to be reducing the food waste, and therefore should be contributing to the human beings' fight against climate change. Of course, that another important element of this is the packaging that reduces the weight of the total packaging of the total product without compromising the performance. That also helps to reduce the total, cost of trucking, cost of weight. So all the additional resources that will be consumed, which comes with the weight of the product. Therefore, reducing packaging in that sense is an important element. And reducing packaging also means reducing packaging waste in that sense, which is another important sustainability problem. And when we talk about the packaging, plastic waste, packaging waste in general, there are two important things that where we see the eco-friendly materials are coming into pictures. One of this is recyclable materials, or the materials that have recycled content, and that is an important part. But we have to also acknowledge the fact that at this point in time, we don't necessarily have a perfect recycling environment in our world, and in Seal there, that is one area that we have a significant focus, how we can work with all the industry stakeholders and governments to actually create the infrastructure for recycling. That will be more, and that will become much more prominent. And recycled content materials and recyclable materials will become a critical element in terms of eco-friendly materials. And of course, last but not the least, the plant-based, compostable materials, biodegradable materials. They do also should play an important role. At this point in time, maybe those materials are not commercialized widely enough, and they may not be very effective in all food applications, but of course they do have a place. And going forward, we believe that the balance will be between recycled materials with biodegradable materials, where the total protection of food is still prominent, and the weight of the packaging is reduced. So this is where the I would say discussion is going around, because there is not necessarily one single, let's say, direction yet in the food industry that what an eco-friendly material is. But our definition is in between those, and we believe that striking a balance between all these points that I made is going to be the key, let's say, strategy for all food producers going forward.
So, in your view, eco-friendly packaging now focusing more on protecting product and reduce food waste, right? And for recyclable material and plant-based packaging, that is, will be in the near future or in the future, right?
Correct. Of course. I mean, definitely, because as I mentioned, when it comes to food packaging, the most important thing is protecting the food. I mean, that just cannot be compromised, right? So that is out of question. So therefore, the priority is still there. And at this point in time, as all the different stakeholders, including ourselves, are investing in creating the recycling infrastructure around the world. And the primary thing is to at this point in time is to try to reduce, let's say, the packaging weight without compromising the performance. But again, I personally have a very, very strong hope that I think within our let's say professional lifetime, within 5 to 10 years, I believe this recycling, human beings will sort out this recycling problem, because I think there's a huge demand from the consumers. I can see across the world, different governments are taking. They started to put effort into this. As I said, they're not necessarily, these efforts are not yet I would say very well orchestrated, or they're not, let's say, fully streamlined into one direction. But there is great effort. We could see in Europe there is significant efforts already being made to establish the recycling infrastructure and the legislation. And I can also see in Asian countries there is a positive movement towards there. And I believe this will definitely will take place, and in much more in our lives in the coming 5 years or so.
Okay, that's interesting, Mr. Onat. Let's focus on the material and design of eco-friendly packaging of food product, Mr. Onat. As you say, the primary focus is protect the foods and reduce food waste, right? So what are some of the options and of the material and design of this packaging, and what advantages do they have, Mr. Onat?
The advantages, as I briefly mentioned the alternatives in terms of perishable foods, where at this point in time more reduced weight, and for different applications, there are different solutions as well. Food is not an easy thing to pack. In that sense, there is not let's say one single solution for every food. Fresh food and cooked food are very different, but within, let's say, fresh food, the optimum packaging for, let's say, a fresh seafood and a fresh beef, if you would take two examples, are completely two different things. Because the need of the products are different. So at this point in time, the most critical thing is to choose really the right product. In that sense, we can see like vacuum skin packaging technology is picking up significantly in protein packaging. Why? Because it really protects the food. It reduces the total weight and the dimension, so it makes the foods much more easier to transport in larger, let's say, volumes in more cost-efficient way. That is a good example in terms of that. Or we do manufacture products. A good example is our Simple Steps product for our ready-to-eat meals, where actually this brings significant convenience apart from its food safety advantages, where people actually can prepare their food in a very simple and quick way. And today in the urban life, that time is so valuable. People really don't have enough time for their, let's say, own interests. So sometimes spending less time in food preparation brings an important positive element. But when we look at the if we look at the proof of advantages of these sustainable packaging, I believe these are in the middle of our everyday focus areas. What we do for that? We are innovating new packaging solutions that are thinner and lighter weight than the products they replace, without sacrificing performance. That's the main rule. Every single new product that goes into the market needs to be lighter, or it needs to be based on recyclable. So that is one differentiation point and one advantage. Of course, the use of better performing products actually reduces the excessive packaging and while providing improved product protection. Lighter and smaller packaging means lighter loads and fewer trucks needed to ship same amount of product. Fewer loads save fuel, reduce transportation energy, decrease emissions, and lower shipping costs for the brand. So that's a huge another advantage, because sustainability, when we talk about sustainability, we should not take sustainability as just environmental sustainability. It's economic sustainability. It's human health sustainability. So striking that balance is one of the advantage with the right packaging. We optimize the food packaging to reduce food waste and spoilage, as I mentioned. And the primary purpose of packaging is to ensure that the goods we consume arrive undamaged and unspoiled. Those are the advantages. Packaging plays an essential role in protecting perishable foods during distribution and reducing the cross-contamination. Today, if we don't have the right food packaging, we can have significant food safety issues, which actually we do see time by time in different markets. That comes into picture as more foods actually travel across geographies. So right packaging also eliminates that risk. So these are the main advantages, I would say, as the right eco-friendly for the right eco-friendly packaging.
Yes, that compelling, Mr. Onat. You mentioned lighter and less weight packaging, and also add more recyclable content, right? So some producer might wonder, so the new solution, is it affordable, or how much that is cost to switch to this eco-friendly packaging, Mr. Onat?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and we need to look at this in a very holistic way, I would say, because when we are talking about cost, there is a definite perception that the let's say more sustainable or more eco-friendly packaging alternatives are more costly. So it may not be affordable. Either the consumers will not afford it, or the producers will lose their margins for this. But again, this is not a straightforward thing, because cost of a product or cost of a packaging is not made by just the cost of that packaging. Yes, it's not let's say a secret that there are some products, especially at this point in time, if I would be very frank, more plant-based type of products, which are perceived to be more green, can be more expensive. And in some cases, some let's say thinner products which are using more technology may well be also a bit more expensive than their let's say other alternatives. But what is the total cost of the food chain? When we lose the product, when the product is spoiled on the way before even reaching to consumer, that is cost. Somebody's paying that cost. When and if there is a food safety issue, that is significant cost apart from the human parts of it, right? To be able to fix that. When there is actually more higher weight or more bulky packaging, it means that we are actually the total volumetric weight of those products are much bigger. Therefore, there is definitely more resources in terms of cost of distribution, cost of warehousing significantly increases. And if we also combine this with the concept of automation, where packaging processes can be made, it can be automated and made more, I would say, efficient. I can tell very comfortably, in most of the cases, eco-friendly products, as we define it, does not necessarily create more cost. They create more benefit when we look at it holistically. And that is actually what sustainability is, right? For something to be sustainable, it needs to be eco-friendly, means ecologically friendly and economically friendly as well. So I can tell you, in most cases, when we look at this, when we take this holistic perspective, eco-friendly, let's say, packaging brings cost efficiency rather than on cost.
Yes, you're suggesting that we have to look at the holistic view, right? Not just specific one function, right?
Definitely, because as I say, all these are real costs, and either somebody in the food chain, supply chain, that this can be the processor, this can be the retailer, or this can be the consumer, definitely pays this cost. That's definite.
Yeah, but there is also a concern. But we can look at the holistic view. But if it contain higher costs, some might wonder whether will consumer be willing to pay the price, Mr. Onat?
Yeah, that is true, and we can see these concerns in the marketplace. As I say, one of the reasons where at this point in time some of the more eco-friendly packaging solutions are not necessarily picking up as fast as they should, maybe, are those concerns. Those concerns sometimes exist in the minds of consumers, but more often we see it happens in the mind of actually either processors or retailers. But as I said, the damage, the spoilage, that cost is paid by many. However, what I can see is this is also changing, because the consumers are looking for the change, and I do see that the companies, the food processors who are actually have taken the courage to invest into that kind of packaging, taking that holistic view, actually clearly over a very short period of time clearly sees the benefits. Which they actually may have been in doubt at the beginning. Therefore, I would say good examples create new good examples. So as more, let's say, producers do take that step and invest, that creates better examples, and it's I do see it as a positive momentum in that sense. Therefore, I'm still confident, although there is confusion, although there is not necessarily one single view. I think step by step that holistic view is being accepted by the wider community in food supply chain, and we will all see the benefits of it going forward.
Yes, interesting, Mr. Onat. You mentioned earlier about vacuum skin packaging, right? This is one of the eco-friendly packaging. What are other options that can you explain a bit more? What are other options that producer might consider?
In terms of vacuum skin packaging, or in general?
In general, other packaging for food products.
Yeah, I would say there is. For perishable food, if we just take it from a bit simplistic view, the most easy and typical packaging would be just a wrap of any product, right? That's actually probably has been there to protect the food from anything, and the evolved next generation of that has become actually putting the food into a kind of a thermoformed, I would say, packaging. The next step has been, and still is a very, very valid for perishable foods, is what we call a modified atmosphere packaging, where actually to put, changing the atmosphere inside the package to be able to protect the food. And then the vacuum technology as actually probably arrived in that sense is the one of the latest ones, though it's not completely new, but especially in Asia, it's now that being more and more established, where actually taking out the total atmosphere in many of the applications is protecting the food significantly more. So those are the main 3-4 alternatives. And when I look at the vacuum skin packaging, that's probably the last, let's say, innovation in vacuum packaging, where it creates a kind of a complete skin on the product, which then means that the product does not necessarily have any, I would say, oxygen at any point. That significantly increases the shelf life. The benefit of this to increase the shelf life in other ways is may not be in fresh products, but in maybe processed food. You can add a lot of additives, which can be very harmful in the long run for human beings. Therefore, there is a good trend with this health understanding that products with, let's say, certain additives are either not preferred by the consumers, and in some countries, some of those are being actually prohibited as well, are banned as well. So when the type of this vacuum skin packaging is giving the ability for food producers without using any additive to increase the shelf life, and to again, increasing shelf life is a very important element of reducing food waste in the food supply chain. So these are the main 4 things. The advantage of these kind of packaging is also comes with a significant automation, and that automation is not only about efficiency, but again is reducing the touch points, because from production to the end point, actually food has almost 15 touch points, especially in the online, let's say, food delivery, let's say, supply chain. Therefore, when we have this kind of packaging, actually it protects the food from the human interaction. And human touching to the food is actually is a point of microbiological contamination, and that avoids that as well. So it has this kind of advantage, apart from this reducing volume and protecting the food for a longer period of time.
Yes, that's interesting, Mr. Onat. One of the I would say the priority for producer is sustainability and food safety. You already mentioned this, but I just want to ask again, how does one ensure sustainability and food safety when it comes to packaging? These 2 areas can go hand in hand, right?
Definitely, it has to go hand in hand. Once again, there is no way that we can compromise from food safety, right? That's something that is not even, it's out of question. So that's first of all is the primary point. Then the sustainability comes into picture, as I say, the ecologic and economic. When we look at this point, we are now able to really reduce the total impact of the let's say packaging into environmental world by reducing it. And again, more and more, step by step, the recyclable and recycled content products are coming into the picture. As I say, today in the food world, this may not be yet the majority of packaging. But I do see that within the frame of 5 to 10 years, that will change, and recyclable and recycled content materials will take over. And the last part is as I said, the economical sustainability. We are definitely very confident that the right packaging is the right economical choice as well, because definitely the cost of spoilage, cost of shipment of products, cost of some food safety, let's say, incidents are a very significant part of the cost of food supply chain. Another point is when we're talking about sustainability, I want to give you one example. As I said, food waste is an important element of climate change. If food waste was a country, that would be the third largest country after US and China contributing to climate change negatively in terms of carbon footprint. And when you look at food waste, why it is important? Because the carbon footprint of a package of any perishable food is much, much smaller compared to its own, let's say, carbon footprint. Let's take a piece of cheese. The carbon footprint of cheese is 70 times more than the carbon footprint of its packaging. If it is beef, that number goes to 270 times more. So when we create a food waste, think about the magnitude of the impact in terms of carbon footprint that we waste, the resources that we are wasting for that piece of let's say cheese or for that piece of beef. This is huge. Therefore, when we have the right packaging, it's not only about the economic side of it, but it's again from a total carbon footprint and the effect of climate change. We are able to give a significant advantage to the producers and actually to our Mother Earth, I would say.
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Onat, for your time and your analysis. That is very compelling and interesting, Mr. Onat.
Thank you for listening to another Asian Agribiz podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the show on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever you get your podcasts.